Hey everyone, this is Aniba Mihangos, and this video I'm going to be talking about Funnel Hacking Live. I went to Funnel Hacking Live. You can see my little badge here. I went to Funnel Hacking Live in Nashville, Tennessee. I arrived over there on Thursday or Wednesday. No, I believe it was Tuesday, and I left yesterday. I got back home yesterday, and now I am here. And I want to make sure that I brought to you all the information. I took a lot of notes in this notebook right here. I took a lot of notes of every single day of Funnel Hacking Live, and I want to make sure I create a video for every single day so you can get some information about what happened. If you're considering going to Funnel Hacking Live next year, it's going to be happening in Nashville at the Gaylord Opryland again. It was amazing. Just to provide you with my quick opinion of it, it was amazing. Funnel Hacking Live, oh my gosh, it's provided such an eye-opener to a bunch of things and that I wasn't really aware of. It pretty much opened up my eyes to a new world of digital marketing, and I'm really excited to be sharing that information with you. If you've already been following a lot of the content from Russell Brunson, Stephen Larson, Garrett J. White, and all these big people from ClickFunnels, then you know how powerful the funnels can be and how amazing the community is. But after really experiencing it firsthand at Funnel Hacking Live, it really made me want to be involved and of course use the platform a lot more. So really day one was really just the fundamentals. Day two was more about the funnels itself. Day three was the traffic, and day four was more about, actually I don't remember exactly what day four was all about, but I'll explain that in the fourth video. But day one, speaking about the foundation, the fundamentals, Russell Brunson came out on stage. He was the first person. Devon Brown introduced him, and it was a phenomenal introduction because everyone got on their feet, applauded Russell Brunson, and really welcomed him to the stage. And because he created a platform that we all know and love today. And Russell Brunson really gave us a lot of his insights. A lot of the information really was already known because pretty much he's just told the story of how ClickFunnels came to be, how he met his co-founder Todd Dickerson, how it all came to be, how it all started. He told the story of the potato gun story of how he started getting into the funnel game. And if you've been involved in ClickFunnels, if you've been a part of the One Funnel Away Challenge, then there's a good chance that you've heard all these stories already. So I won't really go into too much depth, but I took some notes and I highlighted them with crayons so I can make sure I cover these points. One of the things that Russell Brunson said on the first day really is that you need to find a way to over-deliver at all times. That's pretty much the foundation of what the offer is all about. You want to increase the value of what the product or service that you're offering, and you want to make sure that you over-deliver and look for ways to over-deliver. On day four, when Tony Robbins came out, he mentioned that he believes that Russell Brunson has been so successful with everything that he's done with ClickFunnels because he's always over-delivered. And it's something that's very important. I think is really important for me, myself, in starting up my business to always look for ways to over-deliver. And if you're starting a business, it's really important for you to always look for ways to over-deliver too. And one of the really first points that he mentioned was that if you're creating something, what's the point of creating that thing if you want to offer value to the world if no one sees it? And that really brought into it was like a great introduction into the marketing world, because that's pretty much what we are. If we believe in a product or service that we're creating and we want to offer it to the world, why not do everything possible to attract attention to it so we can make sure that people use it and receive benefit from it? That's what really funnels is all about. You're attracting the traffic and you're doing conversions with the funnels because you want to help people. And then eventually, once you get to the point that you start off with a dream, a vision, and you actually make it into reality, you want to eventually get to the point where the growth turns into contribution. You want to contribute back into the industry, back into the audience that you're serving, and provide them with more value and pretty much everything that's necessary in order for you to start shifting that mentality from growth into contribution. He was saying how if you don't make that shift, then essentially you're eventually going to stagnate. You're going to flatline. You may see a lot of growth in the very beginning, but if there's no contribution, eventually you're just going to plateau. And that's something that we want to prevent. And of course, in the foundations, he really made mention a lot and really went into depth about what frameworks is all about. If you've seen those really cool drawings, if you read expertsecrets.com secrets, you see a lot of cool drawings that Russell Brunson makes, and he makes those drawings to explain his funnels or the value ladder, if you've seen that. But that's really what a framework is all about. He mentioned that frameworks are very, very important because then you can take that framework and pass it on to someone else. And if it's a simple framework and you provide with some explanation, then that person is going to be able to take that framework and implement it and actually apply it, and it's going to be a lot more efficient that way. That's why frameworks are extremely important, and you want to make sure that you create frameworks for your business, so that way you don't become a business operator, meaning that you have to be present in the business, but you can become a business owner, where instead you just create a whole bunch of frameworks, you pass it on to your managerial team or your team in general, and they're going to be able to take those frameworks and continue operating the business without you having to intervene every single minute. And of course, if you've heard anything about Russell Brunson, if you've seen his presentations, One Funnel Away Challenge, even if you've watched his ads, if some of his ad teams has targeted ads to you, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or any other platform, you know how good of a storyteller Russell Brunson is. And the reason for that is because you may have a message, you may have an offer, but no one's gonna listen to you without a story, without a backstory. It really all comes down to having your target customer ask the question, why should I care? That's very important, because you want to be able to answer that question and with a story. People love stories. They get immersed into the story, and if it's a good one, if you're targeting the right people, it's a relatable story. So it connects emotion into the offer, into the transaction, the sale, whatever you want to call it. And people buy based off of emotion and then use logic to justify their purchases. And that's what we're trying to go for. The stories bring emotion, and you want to make sure that you tell a story with as much emotion as possible so people can relate to it and ultimately make that purchase. So at this point, Russell Brunson goes off stage, Devon Brown comes out and introduces the new speaker, and his name is Ryan Holiday. A lot of you may recognize Ryan Holiday. He's an author. He has a lot of great books out there. He's also the owner and I believe the founder. He currently runs a YouTube channel called Daily Stoic, and he has a really cool, really popular newsletter where he sends out books about philosophy and all that. So one of the things that I actually highlighted in my notes, if you can see here, is that he said, if you can be convinced to not do something, then you shouldn't do it at all. And it's very true. If you have to be convinced to go put in effort into your business, if you have to be convinced to get up in the morning and to actually do the business or do the work necessary to see your business succeed, then why should you do it at all? You want to make sure that you're extremely passionate about what you're doing so that you're motivated every single day or the majority of the days to get up and actually do something. Because without that motivation, without that desire to succeed in what you're doing, then nothing is going to happen. Eventually you're going to give up. You're going to find a reason to not do what you're doing or to not do what you have to do in order to get that next level. And that's just going to be a bad thing for everybody involved. He also mentioned that when you create content, so when you do something, you want to make sure that you're not boring. He really drove this point home, and he always said, don't be boring, don't be boring. And it's true, because when you're boring, or he actually mentions the thing that I highlighted over here, being boring is expensive and it becomes a liability. And it's very true, because if you're boring when you create content, then you may put in a lot of hours creating videos, creating podcasts, writing blogs, but if it's not exciting whatsoever, then people aren't going to be wanting to watch, listen, or read that content. You want to make it exciting, you want to be spontaneous, you want to be pretty much just over the top. Well, not so much over the top, but I think you get my idea. You just don't want to be boring, because you're going to put in so much work, and then because of the boring factor, people are going to instantly turn away, or after a few seconds of watching the video, of reading or listening to the podcast, they're just going to switch over to another thing that has a lot more energy and a lot more excitement. And it's something that I'm working on. I want to make sure that these videos are exciting and fun. I'm trying to do different things, but ultimately just don't be boring. And I agree with Ryan Holiday on this one. One of the things that I've heard a lot of these speakers talk about is really owning your audience. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it was either in .com Secrets or in Expert Secrets, one of those two. Russell Brunson mentions that you can generate a lot of traffic on Facebook, Google Ads, or on YouTube, but at the end of the day, something can happen to those platforms. If for whatever reason Facebook changes their algorithm altogether and you lose all that traffic, you can't retarget to them anymore. YouTube, Google, they change their algorithm and you can't do retargeting. You can't target the people that you need to target, your audience. What happens? You essentially lose all that audience. If you work so many months, so many years building up an audience of hundreds of thousands or millions of people, and then in one day Facebook shuts down, Google shuts down, YouTube shuts down. It is possible, by the way. It's possible for these companies to fail. It's possible. It has happened to many people. So if you want to really be in control, then you want to own your audience. You can create traffic from Facebook, Google, YouTube, but then redirect them to an email newsletter to build up your list, or any other way, but you want to make sure you own your audience. If you don't have direct access to your audience, you're in danger of losing everything. And that is something that is preventable just by redirecting traffic over to your funnel, over to your website. and making sure that you capture as many emails or many phone numbers as possible so you can actually own the audience. So the next speaker was Jermaine Griggs, and he was talking about funnel freedom. He was really cool because he was talking about how his family and his children have been able to travel a lot, and his business has been able to grow pretty much on autopilot just with a couple funnels. And it's really interesting to see the concept that he brought to the stage and he introduced to all of us. The very first thing that I highlighted here is that you're going to impact people and they'll go out to impact other people. Something, I forgot who mentioned it. I'll talk about it in the next day or in the day after that. But essentially, they're saying how the funnel is more than just a funnel. It's an hourglass. Because at the end of the day, if you think of it, let's do this. If you think of it like this, people come in through the top of the funnel, you bring traffic in, and at the end of the bottom, only one person comes out. But that one person's impact is so much that then they go out and speak to multiple people and they increase your impact exponentially. That's the impact that Jermaine Griggs says that you can potentially have by engaging in these kinds of marketing strategies. And of course, you want to make sure that you focus on activities that move the needle forward. Too many people think that working hard, just grinding, getting up at 7 in the morning, then going to sleep like at 3 a.m., only getting 4 hours of sleep, is going to make them successful. When at the end of the day, it's really more than that. You want to focus on activities that are going to move the needle to success, increase efficiency, and ultimately get you closer to your end goal. So that's why he says it's important to realign and to make sure you prioritize the things that are necessary. He's a big advocate for delegating and building up teams, and I agree with that. It's important. Maybe if you're starting off with your business, it may not be possible to do that, but eventually, as soon as you get to the point that you can, do it. It's not a point that I've gone to yet, but I'm looking forward to that day where I can bring on someone to the team and just delegate, because that's going to be a huge time saver for me. He mentioned that there's 4 C's that he is always focusing on. And the 4 C's are content, copywriting, conversions, and clicks. Those are the things that he focused on. He says, when I'm at my best, I'm working on the 4 C's. And of course, when it comes to content, it's something that I need to work on as well. But when it comes to content, he says focus on the marketing aspect of the content and not just be a content creator. Like we see on YouTube, there's so many people that have become daily vloggers and they just make vlog videos just for the hell of it. For some people, it's cool. Maybe you enjoy it. Maybe you enjoy documenting your life. But he focuses a lot on creating the content that pushes your agenda, that brings another client. And of course, he also mentions data-driven marketing. This is something that I've also faltered in the past because I'm a huge proponent for marketing. I love social media marketing. But when it comes to the data aspect of it, I believe there's a lot of people out there, including me, that can also work on this. Now, data-driven marketing simply means that you want to make sure that you track the metrics of every single point in the funnel. So Jermaine says that if you can track how many people go from the ad into your funnel, you're going to be able to see exactly how many people, or if there's something wrong with the advertisement, then you need to be able to change the copy, maybe change the photo or the video of the ad. And say, for example, if not a lot of people are opting in, then that means you need to change the copy, the images, the wording of all of the structure of the funnel on the opt-in page. And then once you fix that and you move on to the purchase page and there's nobody actually purchasing it, then that means that there's something there that you need to check. So by tracking every single step in the funnel or every single step in the sales process, you're going to be able to know where you actually need to focus your attention on fixing things, on tweaking things. So that's what data-driven marketing is all about. He also mentions don't use emotion, use the numbers. You want to make sure that you don't say, oh, this looks like a nice picture, therefore I'm going to be using this one. That's where A/B split testing comes into play. You want to make sure that you test it so you can actually physically see the numbers of which one works better. And this applies to all aspects of the funnel. You want to make sure that you go based off of the numbers, not based off of your emotions or what you think is going to work. And then one of the things that I really liked, it's been mentioned multiple times, but when it comes down to using the upsells, if you can use an upsell good enough, if you have a high converting upsell, then that upsell will essentially cover the ad cost. And then that funnel will be infinitely scalable, because then as long as you keep adding money to it and people keep buying into the upsell, then that money made on the upsell will cover the ad cost. And then you can just keep pumping money into it and it'll just keep scaling and growing. Then one of the interesting things that I found was that because there's so many people coming from different avenues in the world and different strategies that they've used, they're gonna have different takes on what is needed in order to be successful. So Jermaine, what he says is that really rely a lot on PPC, paid per click. Say for example, like Facebook, YouTube ads, Google ads. And one of the things he says that don't rely exclusively on being viral or just organic content, because at the end of the day, there's no guarantee that anyone is going to find your content and gonna say, oh, I love this content so much, I'm gonna click on it and watch it, or read the blog, or listen to the podcast. You want to make sure that you throw your content, your ads to the right people via targeting, and the only way you can do that is really by having a PPC budget. Once Jermaine was done, the next person came up was Russell Brunson again, and this time he was talking about funnel hacking. So if you've been around in ClickFunnels in the community for quite some time now, then you know that we call ourselves funnel hackers. Funnel hacking really comes down to seeing how other people use funnels and then taking some of the strategies that they use and implementing it into your own funnel, because you're essentially modeling what works. You want to find someone that has a good funnel that's working, that's really good at conversions, and then take their strategies that are working, maybe the copywriting, maybe the images, maybe the lead magnet that they're using, and then use those same things onto your funnel, so that way there's a higher chance of you creating a great funnel and not having to start from scratch and then just figuring it out as you go. So that's what funnel hacking is all about. And just really quickly, since he wasn't on stage for too long, I just want to share really quickly 3 ways to find funnels that work, because you want to make sure that you funnel hack the funnels that work. So there's 3 ways to find funnels that work. You want to look for your direct competitors. Think of who is in the same industry selling the same product or service as you are. Look for their funnels, and then just don't copy it, but just find the strategies, maybe like the text that they use, vocabulary that they use, the colors that they use, the kind of images that they use. Bring those strategies over to your funnel and then use that to really funnel hack. The second one is indirect competitor. Essentially, you want to look at your competitors, or not your competitors, but your indirect competitors. These are the people who are not selling the same product or service as you are, but your target customer is the same as their target customer. This is perfect for the weight loss industry. Say for example, you're in the gym business, you want to bring in memberships, and there's someone that's selling supplements or a weight loss program. You essentially have the same target customer, both people who want to lose weight and get fit, but you're offering different products and different services. So those are indirect competitors, but you're still targeting the same person. And also, it's the same funnel type. This is for the people that don't have the same product or service, they're not in the same industry, and they're not targeting the same kind of people, but the funnels are essentially the same. So that's really the 3 ways on how to find funnels to hack. So the next person that came on stage was Catherine Jones. Catherine Jones was talking about design hacking. So like I mentioned before, Russell Brunson talked a lot about funnel hacking, and he's mentioned funnel hacking in a lot of his webinars and a lot of his books and a lot of his videos, Facebook ads, and so on and so forth. Now, Catherine Jones came on stage and talked about design hacking. Yes, it's great to have a funnel, but if it doesn't have a good image to it, if it doesn't really attract the eye of your target customer, then it's not going to be converting. That's why funnel hacking plus design hacking is powerful. So there are 3 Google Chrome extensions that she gave to us as tips. The first one is the color pick eyedropper, the font face ninja, and also the page ruler. They are Google Chrome extensions. And the reason for that is because once you find a funnel online that you really like and you want to start funnel hacking it, you not only want to look at the copywriting, you not only want to look at the images that they're using or the colors that they're using, but you also want to look at the overall structure and design of it. And the colors are really, really important. That's where the color pick eyedropper is really good, because then it gives you the RGB values or the hex codes for that color, and you're gonna be able to put them into your funnel as well. It's also really good if you want to check out the margins or the space in between lines, so that way it looks a lot more than the funnel that's working, so that way your funnel has a higher chance of converting as well. So design hacking is extremely important. So taking all that into consideration, Catherine Jones showed us the 6-step science of design hacking, which is the SWIPES method. And SWIPES is an acronym. The first S stands for structure, then words, images, paint, and energy, and the last one is spacing. You want to make sure you capture all of that and bring it over to your funnel that you're hacking. So then Catherine Jones was done, everyone cheered her on, and the last speaker of the day came on stage, and that was again Russell Brunson. So Russell Brunson, the last speaker of day 1, talked about story selling. Now this is very important, because if you've watched the webinars that Russell was on, if you've watched the videos that Russell was on, you know how great of a storyteller he is. He loves telling stories, and he tells them a lot throughout talking on stage and throughout all the webinars and videos that he does. And there's a reason for that, because he says when you can tell stories well, you can sell. Essentially, that's the whole idea behind it. You have an offer, you have a message, but people won't really listen to you, they won't pay attention to you unless you're able to get their attention with emotion from stories. That's the whole point. I mentioned in the very beginning that people buy based off of emotion, and then they justify those purchases with logic. So really, you want to connect with your target customer, with your audience, with that emotion, the ethos, and that's where the story really comes into play. Say for example, there's big teams like Marvel, the Avengers. They're a lot more relatable than the DC comics, because the DC people, the DC superheroes, they're from other planets, they're aliens, they're far-fetched superheroes. Whereas the superheroes from Marvel, they're a lot more relatable. They're from Earth, they have human qualities to them, they sense emotion, they do all these different things. They take place in New York, places that we recognize. And all those different things play into a role of why Marvel is so successful and DC is not seeing the same success as Marvel. And that's essentially what Russell is getting at in this portion of day one. And also, of course, whenever you're going on the Epiphany Bridge, if you're telling a story and you're talking about the Epiphany Bridge, if you've watched the webinars, if you've done the One Funnel Away Challenge, you know what the Epiphany Bridge is. In the Epiphany Bridge, the very first thing that you need to realize is that at one point you had an aha moment. And that aha moment was really the catalyst to bring you across the bridge for you to become an evangelist and start telling other people about it. So you need to think back of that moment, the aha moment, and start telling people that is your story. You weren't a believer before, explain why you weren't a believer before, but now at that aha moment, now you are. Now you think of it differently, and now you really want to start telling people about it. That's the story you need to start telling. Essentially, what Russell is saying, you need to think back and what logical arguments you made to prove your emotional decisions. Remember, people buy based off of emotion, and they justify that purchase with logic. So at one point, you bought into something, or you literally bought something based off of emotion, and then later on, you justified it with logic. Why? What was that emotional thing that made you want to buy into a movement, into a revolution, into a system, into a software? Why? What was that story for you? And again, Russell Brunson goes into the perfect webinar. If you've been involved in ClickFunnels community, you've heard of the perfect webinar. It really comes down to the big domino. You want to look at the problems that your target audience has, and you want to find that big one, the big domino, and find ways on how to tip that one over. Because once you tip that one over, then all the other dominoes, all the other objections, or the other reasons that they wouldn't buy into something, they become irrelevant. That's what the big domino is all about. And then the very last thing that Russell Brunson ends the night on is telling us to essentially build a list, an inventory of stories. Storytelling is extremely important, and I 100% believe that now. But one of the things that we also need to have in the back of our minds is that when something is happening, we're having a conversation with someone, we need to have the bank of stories in place so that we can automatically pull from them. That's why when Russell Brunson's on stage, he's told so many stories, he knows so many stories from his past that at a moment's notice, he can easily go to one of those stories and explain it with ease, and that connects with the audience a lot better. And something that we need to do is something that I'm going to start doing, because I want to make sure I get to the point where I can easily have a conversation with someone or get in front of the camera like I am now and talk about my backstory, my stories that connect with you guys a lot more than things that I'm doing right now. So I love day one. It was phenomenal. It was a great introduction to Funnel Hacking Live. It was a lot of really good energy. I really liked it, being involved in the ClickFunnels community, and I'm really looking forward to explaining a lot more on day two. Day two is all about funnels, and that's something that a lot of people are looking forward to. So day two is going to be exciting, and look for that one either tomorrow or the day after that on Wednesday. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe to make sure to catch day two, day three, and day four of Funnel Hacking Live, the recap. And thank you very much for watching. Until next time.